scholarship about mantras as part of the Siddhi magical power tradition of yoga, and how this is tied to the concept of clockwork in Western science. So I was just reading James Mallinson, and he's a scholar, and he worked with debates with David Gordon White, and they're experts on the yoga tradition in India, and the issue is that the practice of mantras is considered a lower practice because you're just using your intellect as concentration, and so the focus of samadhi is for internal listening to the source of sound, but the use of the mantra and japa is based on the setting of internal resonance through the rhythm repetition of the sound in the mind as a concentration. And so Sir Roger Penrose was asked about the origin of the universe, and he says that science typically says they can't say what happened before the Big Bang, that the question is irrelevant. But he thinks that you can answer the question by realizing that in quantum physics, quantum mechanics, the momentum is directly proportional to the frequency as energy, and then the mass in relativity is also the energy as frequency. Because the energy is equivalent, but so the quantum frequency turns into mass. But in relativity and standard science, symmetric math, the time is defined as a spatial clockwork. So there's a rhythm that's considered to be a symmetric phase of space, and he says that once this breaks down in a black hole, then you can have the same shape as phase, but it's a pure frequency as a phase, and it's no longer frequency defined by the time as amplitude or a spatial measurement, and therefore there's no way to tell the difference in size as a change in amplitude. So this is the parallel in meditation, is that when you have a sound that you're repeating in your mind as concentration, and that this is used to develop psychic powers, then, or the Siddhis, these powers are still defined as occurring over a spatial definition of time. So therefore, the powers relate to what the individual experiences as light, in repeating over a spatial phase or framework. For example, the power of the spirit as we look out in deep space, but it originated in the past as a spatial measurement. And so he's saying that actually is no different than the start of Big Bang, because there you had something that was supposedly very small in size, but actually it was before any spatial measurement. And so therefore the definition of time is purely based on the frequency, and it's highly coherent, but it's not random, and so it's an asymmetric time as the reverse time energy. And so this is the same thing how yoga works. And so they in alchemy and yoga lyrics in China, where they have a reversal of their sun and moon based on blood, and they this paradox arises. So in the mathematics, it tries to convert the noncommutative phase back into square roots, and then squaring as in symmetric relativity